Hello everyone, my name is Nemanja Jurišić. We are launching a new YouTube channel called NT Podcast, which stands for the Science and Theology Podcast. And no, it's not New Testament podcast. We are actually much more interested in the Old Testament. So this is a shortcut that makes sense in Serbian language. Our main guest on this channel will be Dr. Richard Hess, professor of Old Testament and Semitic languages, who will address some of the most challenging questions from the Bible. Before I ask Dr. Rick something, we encourage viewers to visit his website, oldtestamentquestions.com, for more in-depth discussions. Additionally, we will invite audience to support our channel through donations to help us continue producing high-quality content. All right, Dr. Rick, could you tell us a bit more about yourself and what we will be doing on this channel?
Sure. Thank you, Nemanja. It's a privilege to be here and appreciate the invitation. Yeah, so I teach Old Testament and have for several decades now at, I think, as you said, at Denver Seminary here in the States in Colorado. And I've enjoyed it. That has been kind of my passion for years. My own background is that of growing up in a Christian family and always having been a believer, although at a very young age also being aware and coming to faith. And ever since then, gradually there emerged in my own feeling and sensibilities a call before God to go into ministry. And as that developed in my college days, and then I went to and attended both a Christian and a Jewish seminary training school for ministers, I became more and more aware that this was the direction I was to go in. So I've studied in a number of different places around the world and had the opportunity to teach in the United Kingdom, in Scotland, and also in London for a couple of years before coming here to Denver Seminary. I'm married. We have three adult children, and they are all married, and we have 8 wonderful grandchildren. Very grateful for that, ranging in age from just 3, beautiful, beautiful little girl, to 18. Our oldest has just begun college here in Colorado. So we feel really blessed. I have had the opportunity to edit several series, probably 70 or 80 books in those series, and to write about 8 or 9 books that I've authored, as well as several hundred peer-reviewed academic articles, several dozen works of a more popular sort, and then just a number of other things here and there, and by God's grace. So it's been good, and so this is a really good opportunity. In the past couple of years, I have become more interested not only in what you might call the academic end of things, but also in making this available on a broader level. So it's a wonderful opportunity to come and to spend some time here talking with Nemanja and sort of getting this this part of the program going. As he mentioned, I have the oldtestamentquestions.com, all one word, all small case letters, you can go to and look at. You'll see various questions there. There's also a search opportunity to look through them, to look up verses or scriptures that I may have commented on. And that may be the case even as we talk, that some of those things will be here and some of the things that are here will be there. So that's okay. It's all good.
Thank you very much. And for our first episode, could you answer the question of why you personally believe in the God of the Bible? Is there even such a thing as the God of the Bible, as some argue that various biblical books present contradictory ideas about God? If he exists, why do you believe in the God of the Israel, specifically in Jesus Christ, and not in another God?
Yeah, those are very good questions, of course, and it goes to to the question of faith and belief. I think on one level, I certainly have been persuaded in my study over the years that the Bible is a big book. And so it's not surprising that people would find places here that don't say what they think it says somewhere else and see what they feel may be contradictions. The Bible doesn't hold back in providing a variety of types of literature, a variety and a large number of statements. But I think if we study it carefully, many of those things fall by the wayside, and we do see something of a harmonious message there that amazingly is communicated over the course of, well, if you include both the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament and the New Testament, you're talking, I believe, about 1,000, maybe 2,000 years. So it's a very large collection. And within that, there are claims of great things that God has done, not only as creator of the world, but also claims such as the Exodus, the great event of the Old Testament, where God redeemed his people out of Egypt. Now, the interesting thing about that kind of a claim is that it suggests that God works right in history at a specific time and place with a specific group of people. Some of the stories that we have in the ancient world and also in some other religions present God or gods as kind of mythical figures who are working and living and doing things in a kind of shady time past, a mythological time different. But the Bible never does that. It always presents God as moving forward on behalf of his people and his relationship with them at specific times. The Exodus is one we can talk, and I have talked about the historicity of the Exodus. I believe there are many different aspects of it that concur with the time and place, records, written records, and archaeological material that we have from that period, the late second millennium BC. And so I have no trouble seeing and in fact marveling at the way in which the Bible has preserved this account. It was one of the things that led me more and more to be convinced. Another example in the Old Testament is that of the story of Hezekiah, the king, who in 701 BC was attacked by the superpower of his day, the great Assyrian Empire, based in what is today eastern Iraq. And they came and destroyed city after city after city along the Levantine Mediterranean coast in around 701 BC. In the Assyrian king, his name was Sennacherib, his royal campaign. And you come down to Judah and Jerusalem, where the king Hezekiah led the revolt. And there is recorded this miracle in the Bible. And it's the only one where we have an account in detail recorded in three historical books, or three books that claim to contain history. Isaiah, the prophet, chapters 36 to 39, Second Chronicles in 32 to 34, and then Second Kings in chapters 18 and 19. And what is amazing as you read these is not only the way they agree, but that they come up to a point where they make a claim of a miraculous deliverance, not unlike the Exodus, almost as though God is now doing a new thing for those who believe and trust in him. And he delivers Hezekiah and Jerusalem, the king of Judah and Jerusalem, from the attack of the Assyrians. And the Bible says that he destroyed a vast part of their army. We can go in again into more detail about that maybe at some point. But here I would only say that as we look, this is one of those cases where we do have the account preserved in some 8 different Assyrian records. 8 times it's preserved, and all of them talk about how the king of Assyria had the king of Jerusalem, Hezekiah, all held up in Jerusalem, captive like a bird in a cage. But they never once talk about the destruction of Jerusalem or the killing of Hezekiah, which certainly did happen when Assyrian kings took leading rebels and did what they did to them. And every other city that fell, they recorded this. And even in Judah, the city of Lachish, the second city after Jerusalem, that fell, and the king of Assyria went back, and he put this on in one of the central rooms of his palace, a great set of panels in detail presenting how he had destroyed Lachish and taken its prisoners. Nothing about Jerusalem. Something happened. Something there happened, or the Assyrians would have recorded it, but they couldn't record a victory. And so we have this kind of witness that goes on. We come to the New Testament, and again, we have a historic figure who presents himself in the form of Jesus. And again, we can talk a lot about the details in another time, perhaps, but what we see is someone who is borne witness to, whose followers, as much as we're able to see, and we're able to see quite a lot, both then and in the records later on, whose followers are willing to die for what they witnessed and beheld. And that doesn't happen if they're all kind of covering up some kind of a little lie or something that really it didn't happen. But in fact, the claim for them all uniformly was that Jesus died and rose again from the dead. So from a historical point, as somebody who appreciates, in my view, the historical records and their claims and things like this, not only the biblical, but also the extra-biblical accounts too, I see again and again evidence that God moves in ways that are miraculous and that cannot easily be explained. And he does again and again throughout history in so many different ways. In fact, there have been books written, I think of, you may know the author Craig Keener, who put together 2 volumes entitled Miracles, where he just recorded witness after witness of accounts over the past 2,000 years of Christians who have witnessed every kind of miracle. And so I think there is an objective basis for claiming that there's something special going on, and the God who has claimed these things and authored these things is also the God who authored Scripture and reveals a great deal about himself. Well, that's one part of faith. And, traditionally, the term faith and belief in Christianity is divided into 2 parts. There's the faith which is believed, which is the content of the faith, which I've just described. And there's the faith by which it is believed, which is the personal ability to accept these things as true, and the personal ability to come into a relationship with God to a point where one has a growing sense of certainty that God is present and that it is possible to speak with him in prayer, to worship him, and to receive from him blessing and direction. And so this element, too, has been part of my life, as I've certainly had times where I've been frustrated or angry with God, but I've never doubted his existence, because the personal work of God is something that I have seen in my life, and that I have seen him take things that I thought, oh, this is really bad, and turn them for good. And take things that are bad in this world, for which I have no explanation. I'm not claiming that this is a way to solve every evil thing that takes place in the world, but to understand that God, in his mercy and grace, has allowed us the freedom to make decisions which have impact, sometimes not only on us, but on others. And those can be decisions for evil and bad. They can also be decisions for good and life. And by God's grace, that's the direction we want to go.